Okay, ready? How do you recognize an enemy in your camp?
How insidious? We're going to find out on the next Ray and Sid. Welcome one and all to Dare to Be Better.
With Ray and Sid.
How are you?
I'm rocking.
You're always rocking.
I know.
If you're rocking, I should be rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Rolling.
We'll be like peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm. That's us.
Who's the peanut butter? Don't answer that. Oh, boy.
You're very quick. Because you know if you're not quick, I'm going to give an answer really fast.
I might not like it.
And nope. And then what are you going to do? Because we always do everything raw.
That's all right.
We don't go back to fix things. I'm so sorry.
We probably never will.
No.
That'll be our legacy.
Yeah.
It's
completely imperfect.
Play it where it lands, right? By the way, the golf courses out here in Vegas, they're all brown.
Yeah, it's the type of grass they have.
Oh, it's made for, it's desert grass.
Yeah, and you know, it comes back.
You know, all the times out here, I've never, just noticed the golf courses.
You've never noticed the golf courses?
Not out here. I'm not looking at the golf courses. Usually I'm on the strip.
I've played almost every freaking course out here.
Really?
Yeah. Angel's my favorite. I was at a time. This is no joke. I had only been playing for 8 months because at the time I was married, he loved to golf.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right.
He put me in lessons, which was very nice. But I was shooting about 76, 77 from the men's tees within 8 months.
Wow.
I had to give up the gig because it's like the mafia. You know, I know. This is something I'm working on. I think I've gotten better. I usually don't like to do anything. If I'm not going to be exceptional at it, then I don't want to do it. And so when I started golfing, I played a lot of golf and I took a lot of lessons. And there was no frickin' way I'm hitting from the women's tees. That's not how I roll.
However far up
yeah,
it is,
so let's see her drive that little cart down halfway down the fairway. Either I'm going to be able to play from the men's tees or I'm not playing. And yeah, played from the men's tees. I was average about 77.
Yeah, well, speaking of people, I don't want to mention the mafia because, you know.
Oh, shoot.
No, that's okay. I meant that's okay.
Right, but you are Italian. Could you have a talk with them?
I'm only half Italian. They'll only give me half the time. Okay. But you mentioned people that you no longer associate with as far as golf and as far as, you're not married anymore. We know that.
Clearly we know that.
Yeah, you've made mention once or twice that didn't quite work out. Most of them don't these days, sadly.
I know.
It's more than half now. And my friends who asked me, are you for gay marriage? And this is 13, 15 years ago.
Okay.
I'm like, of course I am. Why should you people be happy? You can be miserable, just like all of us. Like the rest of us. It's about time. Speaking of misery, you can join the misery circle.
Oh, yeah.
You want to get married? Yeah. I can't wait till that first round of all the divorcees come in. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think we just lost 80% of our listeners.
I can't even remember now what we're supposed to be talking about.
I have an email. I got it on tap.
Oh, okay.
I'm just loosening us up. That's all. We're having a blast here in Vegas, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we did get an email. More than one email this week.
I do want to do a shout out. Can I do a shout out?
It's your show.
Oh my gosh. I do want to say that, okay, I don't know what it's called. I don't know the position of what it's called, but wait, just a second. The tech Caesar, the guy behind the mic, but it's doing everything.
Yeah, engineering for us today.
Oh, thank you. The word engineer.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Outstanding. outstanding.
Yes, he is outstanding.
And it's sort of sad in many ways because we're going to get used to this. But I just had to do a shout out because I think that's part of the beauty.
Well,
of being here.
And not having to run the board from here, yes, that's a very, very nice feeling. Yeah, I'm usually doing 5 jobs at once.
I know, and I'm doing nothing. But
you're doing your job.
Chatting it up. Yeah, because you're the play-by-play. I'm the color commentator.
You have more color than I do.
I know. And I know what my lane is, and I stay in it.
But I am a person of color. I'm not white, as you can see.
No,
I'm not like your shirt.
No, thank goodness.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we offended everybody yet so far? I'm working on it. By the 10-minute mark, we'll have nobody listening.
I know.
If we're lucky.
Okay.
But no, we got an email this week from, I don't know who it was. I don't have the list in front of me. We'll post it on the video.
Okay.
But it was a good question. It was, how do you recognize an enemy in your camp?
Oh, yeah.
I read that and I said, that has show written all over it.
Wow.
I bet Sydney has an idea too of how you can recognize a snake in the grass.
Yeah, I do.
On your campsite.
And, again...
Now, it might not be a snake. I didn't mean to cut you off. It could be somebody who, well, if you're recognizing the enemy, obviously it's somebody who maybe you didn't know was an enemy. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say this, it brings to mind when I was designing for one of my last firms, and we had this manager, and he and I were great friends. We were very good friends. And he then became the manager. When he became the manager, he had made mention before the manager, Sid, with all your design and your ability to sell, blah, 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 we really do quite well with the way you sell, because I always sell through the basis of design. And then when he became the manager, didn't like that anymore. He didn't like the program. He didn't want me doing it that way. And then he made it very difficult for me to stay. And the CEO had approached him about putting me in a different position, but unfortunately it would still be in the realm of where he was managing. So he declined. He denied. And it took me a little bit because I was really hurt and angry over that. But then, how I like to do this, I had to take a step back, and because I felt like he was becoming my enemy, in my camp. And I thought, how come? Why would he do this? But life, God, and the universe sends your gifts, your blessings in all different packages. And often your feathers get ruffled simply because it's the only thing that will move you on. It's the only thing that will push you to something better, because we all would sit right in the same gig forever if our feathers were never ruffled. And I would have never met you.
You're right.
Because it was right before I met you. And I don't think that if he had not ruffled my feathers, I wouldn't have been emotionally prepared for you. But I was hungry.
Obviously, it takes a lot of preparation to have to deal with this all the time. And yes, I apologize for that.
Thank you.
I own it. I've come across... I was trying to think of an instance while you were wrapping that up of an enemy in my camp.
Okay.
In any recent experiences. I have to go back a ways to really think about it. Obviously, I've been in many bands over the years, from local bands to national touring bands, worldwide touring bands. And sometimes the further up often, almost all the time in show business, the further up the chain you go, the more people you start to acquire.
Sure.
Bigger entourages and, accountants and lawyers and more people involved in the day-to-day of your business.
Right.
The more people you acquire, the bigger your chances of picking up snakes in the grass.
Sure.
So you hear about this all the time. Even the Beatles, the biggest band in the world, they were broken up. They've had outside influences. Manager, I'm not sure if their manager was so much a questionable force, but Yoko Ono gets a lot of the blame for breaking up the Beatles.
Okay, so here's a question. So that enemy, right? That enemy in the camp, do you see the enemy as a downfall, or do you see the enemy in the camp as a stepping stone?
Well, you don't have to become a casualty of that enemy. Eventually, you need to step out with that person. But I guess the Beatles was just an example that I think everybody can relate to. Yoko Ono becomes vilified for basically breaking up the Beatles. Like, she became an enemy in the camp in a lot of people's opinions,
right.
because they were 4 guys and they were making albums, and they didn't play live all that much, but they made great albums, obviously. And then John divorced Cynthia, his first wife, Julian's mom. Met Yoko. Yoko is not very appreciated as far as being an artist or a vocalist. But more so, she's maligned because basically she's the bitch that broke up the Beatles in a lot of people's opinions. It's probably fabricated, it's probably exaggerated, but she showed up. John was no longer paying the same attention to the group. I'm sure, maybe, I don't know. Was she telling him, hey, you're better than these guys? You don't need these guys? I think he was the one who quit first.
Okay.
It was before, they broke up before I was born, so... the Beatles were really a historical reference to me.
Right.
But in my own bands, we've gotten a taste of success. And you get a manager going, your singer, he looks good, but he really isn't that great a singer. You could do a lot better. Before I give you this contract, you might want to think about replacing him with somebody who maybe fits the bill a little better and here's what we're thinking. And they'll lay it all out for you. And they start filling your mind with, well, we could do this if we just go this way with this other person. And now, the singer that you grew up with, he's been in your band for 4 or 5 years. You were on the club circuit together. You were paying your dues together, suffering together. And now you get to the big table and they're saying, well, we like the 3 of you, but he's just not going to fit into our plans. That person across the table becomes the enemy in your camp because now he's infiltrating. And he's telling you, we have to break up this whole group here, and it causes I
think those kind of situations can be quite beautiful, though, because it pushes you as a band and as an individual to really know where your priorities are, where your loyalties are, right? Because if you're really loyal to that lead vocalist, and then you have to get a little strength, you got to stand your ground, you're going to have to be brave, right? And you're going to have to say, sorry, he's part of our band, this is what we do it together. Or is that person the enemy in the camp is what I'm talking about.
Right.
Or is that enemy in the camp a gift in a different way, where the first example was that individual's pushing you to find your boundaries, find your character. But now maybe he is also pushing you to determine, well, what is the purpose? Is it us staying together as a band? Is that our purpose? Or is our purpose growing as our own individual group? What my point is that, again, it's about point of view. I don't know that people are necessarily enemies. They can be difficult, but I do think these people who are difficult in your camp cause change, and they cause you as an individual to create change.
Well, it all depends, because when somebody, of that stature deals you that kind of ultimatum and says, you can progress if you do things my way. It could be a record executive, it could be a producer picking you up on a spec deal. But it's going to obviously, sever what you have. And yeah, there have been bands that have stuck to their guns and said, no, it's us or nothing.
Daughtry is one of them.
Right. Yeah, but there are groups, even like the Beatles again. They drummed with Pete Best at the last minute and picked up Ringo Starr. Somebody had said, he's not going to cut it. You have to get somebody else. It happens constantly. Okay,
so tell me what you think about that. Let's say, because here comes Ringo Starr, right? And that quote-unquote enemy in the camp really created something better.
Well,
So is
that's
that
one way of
person
looking at it.
so is that person still the enemy in the camp?
Well, it all depends. I mean,
It's all about the point of view, right?
Well, we could look at it another way. That's a very, very valid point. When the band ascends and wins a Grammy and sells 1 million records, and maybe it's, who knows what the reasons could be. Maybe it could be a new wife. It could be a new girlfriend who, I mean, it happens with groups all the time where you've been together 5 years before you had a record deal. And now, you're 3-4 years into that deal. You've been together for a decade, just about. You start to wear on each other after a while. Imagine what you're going to think of me in
Oh
9
my
years.
gosh, that's exactly.
I know what you were thinking. That's why I said it. I can see it in your eyes. I'll be lucky if I last 2 years with you.
No, but I wasn't thinking of you. I was
I
thinking
know.
you of me because I am the handful. I know that. I know that.
She knows that.
I know that.
Well,
You're very patient. You're very kind to me. You just sort of flow. You're great. And so that's what was going through my head. Well, what's
You're going,
this guy across
God,
the way going to
what's
go? I can't do this. I simply can't do this anymore.
I keep getting these emails from people, and they're going to, no, it's
Continue on.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Well,
Tacos on the break? No. Basically, this happens a lot. Bands together 10 years. It could be in any form of life, but I can obviously speak firsthand from, the stage and show business. You start to wear on each other. People start to develop egos because now they've got money and they've got success. They start to believe their own hype.
How do you think that is what word am I looking for? Managed? Because this is the same thing whether you're talking about a band, co-host,
Sports
or
teams,
marriage, right?
Right.
It's all
It's tough because first of all, you have to be able to see the forest for the trees. You've got to be able to almost, be outside yourself.
like where you're heading is what you're saying.
Right.
Like the destination.
Yeah, you don't always see it because you're focused here and you can't see. Even outside yourself, other people, everyone will see it except you. You'll be the last one to know in a lot of cases. This person's been, blowing smoke and filling your head with all these ideas, all these negative influences. And, after you've sold 1 million records, 10 million records, everybody thinks, well, I'm the reason for the success. Well, maybe I'm the reason for the success. I've been writing the songs. Well, hey, I'm the good-looking one. I'm the one the girls come to see. It just happens, And then you get, like I said, that one outside influence going, you don't need these guys. You're so much better. You can go solo.
Right.
And it happens a lot. And, they don't recognize that person as the
long distance goal.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. And it could be just a matter of it's been a long distance. And,
Right.
They say, yeah, I've given you guys 5-10 years. It is time I struck out on my own.
Sometimes it is time to take a different path.
Sometimes, but sometimes you do get that person interrupting things where, again, it's a case-by-case basis, but,
So, this story I don't want to tell, but it did come to mind, this enemy in the camp, right? And I do think, obviously, the way I see the enemy in the camp is somebody who doesn't have my best interest at heart. Right? So when you come upon somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart, I think where people get confused is how do you handle the enemy in the camp? I'd like to hear your feedback on that because I have my own thoughts of that.
Well, first, like you said, you have to recognize it. And then you have to just take inventory and say, hey, do I want a solo career or do I want to, stick where I am? it could happen at your job. Hey, your manager's not giving you your due. You deserve a raise by now. You should have gotten a promotion by now. You're being held back. You should go in there and cause a ruckus.
Sorry, I'm burning up. Okay.
Oh, it's hot in here with the lights.
It is. Go ahead. I'm listening.
But you just have to be able to, somehow take a fair assessment of it. It's not always easy. You have to confide in certain people and, maybe just communicate. Hey, this has been going on. I'm hearing rumblings of these things and this rumors going around. It's creating a toxic environment. What do you do about this? I really think it all begins with recognizing it and then knowing, which direction you want to go with it.
Right. Yeah, I think, again, it is your outlook, right? Because everything, my dad used to say to me, it's a problem if you choose it to be a problem or it's not.
Right.
Right? So for me, and obviously as we all, I've run into a lot of quote unquote enemies in the camp, but I really do feel like those quote unquote enemies are some of the greatest gifts given to us because they do force us to work on communication skills. They force us to manage our frustration and anger. They force us to think, just like what you're doing, is this really where I belong? Is this where I should be? And they do create opportunity for people to make change, because most of us will never make change unless our feathers are ruffled. And so I've just been doing a lot of thinking as we've been sitting here about the enemy in the camp, and maybe they're not an enemy. Maybe they're a great blessing if we're able to look at what the gift is that they're giving us.
I guess it all depends on where you are at the time. Like if you're running with a bad crowd and someone says, you shouldn't be hanging with these kids. Obviously, it's not an enemy in your camp, but the kids that you're running with will see you as the enemy in their camp for interfering. So you're right, it is relative. It really just depends on, I think, what that person is, like you said, do they have your best interest in mind? Or is it just something that they're going to benefit from as their personal gain for the person who's, causing the ruckus,
right?
Leaving the banana peel on the step.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing because I think most of the time people don't realize it.
Realize what? The enemy?
They don't. Yeah, a lot of people don't recognize that this person's been an enemy for years because they do it slowly. A lot of people are very manipulative and they're good at what they do. And if I know you for a long time, I know what buttons to push. I can start an argument with you and make it look like it was organic.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, people are, unfortunately, they're really good at these things. And if they're a true enemy, then they don't have your best interest in mind, obviously. But
some of them are a little snaky. I've been with somebody in business for years and years and years who said they were on my side. And there was nothing ever happened. And so it took me a long time to realize that this person in business didn't have my best interest at heart, right? And I'm very loyal. I never want to hurt someone. If I give you my time or my commitment, I want to stay. That's what I want to do. And that gets a little tricky too, because I had to get to a point where I had to determine, is this the best place for me? Because this individual doesn't have my best interest at heart, though I have that person's best interest at heart.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a group setting, a camp, obviously, I can't say a person who is maybe lazy or maybe isn't doing enough, I can't really see that as being an enemy. To me, it's a proactive effort to create a toxic environment. And
okay, what if they're not deliberately creating a toxic environment?
It might not be deliberate. You're right.
Yeah.
And in that case,
there still could be quote unquote the enemy. I mean, if they're not watching out for your best interest.
And there are two people then that have to recognize that. The person who is causing it and the person who is being affected by it.
Yeah, but that person who's causing it may never recognize it.
No, they may not.
Yeah.
And,
And that person who's receiving it, then that's when they have to choose to make changes, which again, that's where the gift is, right? Now they're being put in a position to do something about it, to change the path, to change their life, and to create the type of life they want instead of taking what's being dished to them.
Yeah. When there's a team and there's a chain, they talk about the one weak link in the chain. It could be a rusty link that causes the whole thing to snap.
Right.
And it really can just take one, like the Osmond song, one bad apple, right? It's such a wide concept. There's a lot of different ways you can be an enemy. Like you said, conscious, unconscious. It could be something malicious, or maybe it's just a passive aggressive thing where, every day you pass a comment and it has a negative effect on somebody.
Yeah.
That's a very, very subtle way of being an enemy. But yeah, it's hard to wrap my head around because I don't recognize any in my camp right now. I would hope I don't have any. But over the years, I could recognize them.
Right. In my camp right now, I don't have any either. But I think this is the difference. You and I are 33.
33 years old, yeah.
We're 33 years old.
I'm certainly at least that, yes.
But with time, that is the beauty of getting older. So we have wisdom, we have history,
right.
We've learned to problem solve, we've learned to recognize these things, and cleaning house is highly important.
Sure.
You don't, in my opinion, when you realize you have an enemy in the camp or whatever that we want to call that, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Right. And I had to start. I remember my first time cleaning house was at 24, when I realized this is it. This is it. This is what's surrounding me. And I had that realization that if I wanted to have a more effective life, be more successful in business, all of these things, I needed to really determine who I was circling with, because a few of those people I was circling with, if we're going to put a title to them, were enemies in the camp. And so I'm a firm believer that's probably why you and I, and probably others at our age, you don't have as many enemies in the camp, because we're quite clear on who we welcome in to our camp.
One final point before we go, because we're getting close, but here another example, and this is from the other side. And you mentioned as you're older, you recognize it. When I was 21, 22 years old, I realized that I was the enemy in a given camp.
Interesting.
And had to remove myself. But I recognized it.
How old were you?
Like 21, 22 years old. I was in a band, and I had a manager tell me that I should get out of that band because they were holding me back. And there wasn't the same chemistry anymore. And I told the guys, I was honest with them. I came to them and said, listen, this isn't working out for me anymore. You're not happy with me. I'm not happy with you, because we've obviously, gone as far as we could together. So I need to remove myself from the situation, and you need to get somebody who's going to fit you better.
Wow.
You're my guys, and I, wish you the best, and we'll always be friends as long as you'll have me as a friend. But I need to do this because I'm holding you guys back. And
you were holding them back, and they were holding you back, because you just didn't mesh.
I didn't tell them that they were holding me back, but I was holding them back. It was mutual. And there were some hard feelings about it, but eventually, we all forgave each other, and, we're still friends today.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
So anything can be done.
Right.
As far as reconciliation. And you can become allies again when you were once enemies.
Yeah.
But if you have, that's a great question, by the way.
Yeah.
So keep them coming. Ray and Sid Show at gmail.com. Ray, the word and, SYD, show at gmail.com. If we read your submission on the air, we'll send you something nice from our little gift shop.
Yeah, we have some swag.
That's
you guys
right.
should go on our online.
They'll hear all about it as soon as we clear the air here.
Okay.
But that's all we got for now. Thank you once again for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Always remember, dare to be better.
With Ray and Sid. Toodles.
Later. Hey, thanks for checking us out. If you enjoyed the show, like the video, subscribe to this channel, and please tell your friends. We'd also love it if you headed over to daretobebettershow.com for tons of cool photos, extras, and a chance to shop for some sweet show swag. Say that 5 times fast. I could barely say it once. If you keep coming, we'll keep delivering. Thanks again.